The Walking Dead has had tons of scary and creepy moments, from waking up alone in a hospital filled with the undead to being attacked by a merciless group of bandits. So today, we'll be ranking and explaining each of these moments. Subscribe and let's get into it. 15. The Bloated Well Walker. Season 2 of The Walking Dead largely took a calmer pace, focusing on the group's stay at Herschel's farm. However, a particularly gross discovery in Episode 4, Cherokee Rose, brought a new level of horror to the season. The group was in desperate need of a clean water source, and Herschel's well seemed like the best option. As they peered into the depths, they discovered a horribly bloated walker, stuck at the bottom of the well. This creature was not just a typical walker, but a putrefying mass, swollen from the water, posing an immediate threat to the purity of their potential supply. The lead up to this moment involved the tension of their thirst and the hope that the well could provide a safe, untainted resource long term. The group's attempt to extract the walker was a very messy and stressful ordeal. They lowered Glenn into the well, a precarious and unreliable move made even more anxiety-inducing by the walker's unstable state as it attacked Glenn. The scene led to a moment of sickening body horror as the bloated walker tore in half, its contaminated remains falling back into the water supply. This bloody event highlighted the constant, disgusting challenges of survival and the fragility of their resources after civilization collapsed. It was a demonstration that even seemingly simple tasks could turn into nightmarish ordeals, resulting in near-death experiences, and it pushed the boundaries of what to expect from zombie designs early in the series. "14. Carol's hallucinations. The episode Ghosts from Season 10 delves into a psychological horror that plays on the mind's ability to create its own terrifying realities. Following the re-emergence of the Whisperers and their territorial demands, the survivors are constantly on edge. Carol, in particular, is suffering from severe sleep deprivation and trauma, which begins to manifest in the form of some really terrifying hallucinations. Throughout the episode, it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between genuine threats from the Whisperers and Carol's distorted perceptions. She sees terrifying visions, including walkers and even deceased loved ones, making every step a dangerous and difficult experience, giving the viewer a sense of unease and just as much uncertainty as Carol herself is in. The episode expertly utilizes classic horror tropes, creating a deep and unsettling sense of being watched, followed, and surrounded by one's deepest and darkest fears. The environment itself, often dimly lit and oppressive, amplifies the feeling of discomfort and danger. The unsettling nature of Ghosts comes from the blurring of reality and fiction, making all of Carol's fearful moments possible before revealing their true nature. Viewers are subjected to tension and creepy imagery, leaving them questioning what is truly happening. The revelation that at least some of Carol's visions were rooted in real threats, such as the Whisperers drawing close, makes the episode even more disturbing, as it confirms that her mind was as much a battlefield as the physical world she walked in. "13. The Wolves Attack. The episode JSS from Season 6 shatters the brief sense of security established in Alexandria, throwing the community into unexpected chaos. The day begins with a seemingly bright, normal atmosphere within the walls, only for it to be violently interrupted by the sudden, brutal slaying of a resident in the street without warning. This immediate act of savagery signals that Alexandria is under attack by the ruthless group known as the Wolves. The Wolves are depicted not just as typical antagonists, but as bona fide horror villains. They are relentless savages who emerge from every corner of the community with a chilling ruthlessness to take life, simply because they can. Their modus operandi involves indiscriminate slaughter, making it clear that no one within Alexandria's walls is safe once they enter. The episode creates a sense of dread, as neither the characters nor the viewers know when or where a new wolf will appear to take another life, or who will life and die. The invasion transforms Alexandria from a perceived sanctuary into a terrifying trap that nobody can escape from. The unpredictable nature of the wolves' assault, coupled with their sheer brutality and lack of morals, keeps the tension high throughout the episode, even after the survivors get the upper hand. The constant threat of an unseen enemy popping out from anywhere, combined with their willingness to kill anyone they encounter, makes JSS a heart-racing experience that maintains its horror vibes until the very end. 12. The governor's assault on Michonne. The true sadistic nature of the governor is revealed in horrifying violence during his confrontation with Michonne in Made to Suffer. Up until this point, the governor had maintained a charismatic, albeit unsettling facade of kind-hearted leadership. However, in just a matter of moments, he sheds this mask, showing himself to be a savage and deeply disturbed individual, capable of extreme brutality and violence. The scene's claustrophobic setting in his cramped quarters amplifies the intensity of their aggressive struggle, creating a confined and desperate fight for survival. The horror is further deepened by Michonne's discovery of his private room of horrors, a grotesque display including his collection of severed heads in aquariums. This scene exposes the insane depths of his madness and his obsession with power and control, adding another layer of psychological dread to his character. The physical brutality of their fight is matched by the psychological horror of realizing that the governor's outward appearance of civilization was just a thinly veiled disguise for his truly evil and power-hungry nature. The whole episode firmly establishes that in the world of The Walking Dead, the most dangerous monsters are often not the undead, but the living humans who exploit the chaos of the apocalypse to indulge in their darkest impulses, pushing the boundaries of cruelty beyond anything the mindless walkers could inflict. No! 11. Rick tears out a man's throat. The Season 4 finale features one of Rick Grimes' most brutal and defining moments, showcasing his transformation from an innocent lawman to an unyielding survivor willing to protect his family at all costs. The lead-up to this horrifying act involves Rick, Michonne, and Carl being ambushed and captured by Joe and his group of claimers. Pinned down and facing imminent death and horrific, intimate assaults on Michonne and Carl, Rick appears to be in an utterly helpless situation. In a desperate, primal act of protection for his son, Rick unleashes a shocking display of savagery. He bites out Joe's throat, literally tearing a chunk of flesh from his attacker with just his teeth. Blood sprays across Rick's face as he spits out the torn meat, a visceral and shocking visual that cemented his evolution into a formidable and terrifying force, not to be messed with by would-be attackers. This was not an intense gunfight or a knife fight, but a raw, animalistic display of survival instinct, driven by the ultimate paternal protectiveness. Rick's blood-soaked face after this moment mirrors the very walkers he tries to outlive, blurring the line between humanity and monstrosity. It suggests that survival in this world requires embracing a terrifying ruthlessness, a willingness to become something less than human to protect what remains. This point of no return for Rick marks him as a character who will stop at nothing to ensure the survival of his family, making it a truly horrific and unforgettable moment in the series, not just for the build-up to the scene, but the violent act itself. Subway tunnel horrors. The premiere of Season 11 plunges the survivors into an intense and multi-layered horror scenario. The episode begins with a highly tense sequence as a group of survivors attempts to infiltrate an abandoned location for much-needed supplies, all while a massive horde of walkers lurks beneath their feet. The narrowness of their escape sets an immediate tone of high stakes and pervasive danger, with them barely making it out alive. However, this perilous supply run is not the most terrifying part of the episode. A significant portion of the horror unfolds as a group of heroes is forced to navigate a dimly lit subway tunnel, hiding silent and deadly walkers. The confined, dark spaces amplify the sense of claustrophobia and vulnerability, as unseen threats could emerge from any shadow. The strain of navigating such an unpredictable and foreign environment, with limited light sources that could fail at any moment, contributes heavily to the episode's unsettling atmosphere as the group moves through the tunnels. With multiple near-death scenes at the hands of walkers, the opening episode to Season 11 was as intense as it was horrifying, surprisingly giving us anxiety when seeing the gang back together, rather than happiness at their return to our screens. 9. Captivity in the slaughterhouse. The same boat introduces some crazy psychological tension as Carol and Maggie are captured by the crazy and unpredictable saviors. The episode immediately puts viewers in a state of unease as the duo is escorted to another location, barely able to see their surroundings, increasing their vulnerability. This journey leads to an effective and chilling reveal that they have been taken to a slaughterhouse, implying that a gruesome fate awaits them. For the remainder of the episode, Carol and Maggie are forced to struggle desperately to stay alive as their captors become increasingly unhinged, fueled by the paranoia that Rick and the others will find and kill them. Every moment of their captivity is full of terror and tension, largely thanks to the intimidating performances from the saviors, who embody a casual and effortless kind of cruelty. The episode masterfully explores the psychological toll of captivity and the terror of being at the mercy of unpredictable villains at the same time. Although Carol and Maggie ultimately escape the slaughterhouse alive, the anxiety-inducing incident clearly shakes them to their cores. The trauma of their experience, combined with the grim setting and the unsettling nature of their captors, makes The Same Boat a deeply disturbing and memorable episode, highlighting the horrific depths of human depravity. Eight, No Way Out. No Way Out sees the community of Alexandria in its worst nightmare, delivering an unrelenting barrage of fear and intensity with everybody's life on the line. A massive herd of walkers breaches Alexandria's walls, pouring into the streets and unleashing widespread death and mass panic. The episode quickly establishes a sense of overwhelming dread as the community's supposed sanctuary is overrun, with the crew completely off guard, turning familiar homes and streets into a deadly battleground. The episode is packed with emotionally devastating moments and terrifying close calls. Carl suffers a severe gunshot wound, which blinds him in one eye, while Rick's then-girlfriend and her son Sam are tragically devoured by the horde, amplifying the stakes and the sense of immediate, overwhelming danger. For a period, it truly seems as though the entire group will be annihilated, fostering a pervasive feeling that anyone, save perhaps Rick, could die at any moment. However, amidst the chaos, Rick transforms into what some describe as murder mode, venturing out to brutally hack down walkers like an apocalyptic superhero. He soon gets joined by Michonne and other core group members, but significantly, the Alexandrians also step up, proving their collective might by engaging in the fight and slowly taking out the walkers as a team. The episode's relentless tension and the constant fear of sudden death, followed by both Rick and Carl almost being killed, make No Way Out a heart-pounding and frightening experience, as the characters fight for their very survival against impossible odds. 7. The Whisperers arrive. Season 9 introduces a new, deeply unsettling threat that redefines fear in The Walking Dead: the Whisperers. The episode masterfully builds tension, creating an atmosphere of dread as the survivors investigate strange occurrences in a foggy graveyard. What initially seems like a routine encounter with walkers quickly escalates into something far more sinister. The chilling revelation comes when it is discovered that some walkers are, in fact, living people wearing skin masks, perfectly camouflaged among the undead. This twist is so unsettling because it means the survivors are not just fighting mindless monsters, but cunning and ruthless humans who have found a terrifyingly effective way to move undetected among the dead and even control them. Exploit the very nature of the apocalypse to their advantage, making every shambling figure in the night a potentially intelligent enemy. The scene ends in a shocking and badass attack on Jesus, who expects to kill the Whisperer like any other walker, only to be dodged and stabbed in the back, giving us the eeriest and most shocking introduction to the new enemy. The foggy graveyard setting adds to the creepy atmosphere, making it difficult to distinguish between friend and foe, or the living and the dead.
You are where you do not belong.
6. Ding Dong. Hell's Bells. The Season 7 premiere, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be, is arguably one of the most badass yet brutal and traumatizing episodes in TV history, with many fans refusing to rewatch it or continue watching the show afterwards. This episode delivers a chilling fulfillment of Dr. Edwin Jenner's ominous warning to Rick from the CDC, that the day would come when he would not be thankful for staying alive. It is on this fateful day that Negan is introduced, and his sadistic methods are unleashed upon Rick's captured group. Negan, armed with his barbed wire bat Lucille, is absolutely terrifying as he systematically beats Abraham and Glenn's heads to a gruesome pulp. The violence is shocking, but the horror is amplified by the psychological torment inflicted on Rick. Viewers witness Rick's tear-stained eyes, his spiraling fear, and his subsequent mental degradation as Negan pushes him to his breaking point, forcing him to witness unthinkable atrocities and nearly severing Carl's arm. This psychological torture makes the stomach churn and leaves a lasting impact, weakening Rick for a while. The episode is a relentless assault of both physical and psychological horror, forcing both the characters and the audience to endure Negan's twisted games. The complete powerlessness of Rick and his group is deeply unsettling and uncomfortable. For many fans, the sheer brutality and emotional devastation of witnessing two beloved main characters die in such a horrific manner firmly establishes this as the single scariest episode of The Walking Dead, setting a dark and incredibly unnerving tone for the entire season.
You're all gonna be doing that. Oh, look at that.
5. Rick awakens to apocalypse. Days Gone By, the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, masterfully establishes the series' terrifying premise by thrusting Rick Grimes into a world completely transformed by the apocalypse. When Rick awakens from a coma he was put into in his service as a sheriff, he discovers an empty hospital and a world overrun by the undead, immediately creating a sense of isolation and dread. The world he once ruled is now entirely foreign to him. The episode slowly builds the threat, offering unsettling glimpses of lone or incapacitated walkers, which hint at the larger danger awaiting him. The initial scenes in the hospital are super eerie, as Rick navigates deserted corridors and discovers makeshift barricades, suggesting a catastrophic event took place. The chilling sight of a dismembered undead woman outside the hospital sets a grim tone and foreshadows the brutality of this new world he lives in. The fear is not just from the immediate danger of walkers, but from the unsettling silence and the realization that civilization has collapsed and can never fully recover. The episode results in Rick stumbling into an abandoned city only to find it teeming with an overwhelming horde of walkers. This iconic sequence, where he rides through the streets of Atlanta on a horse, entirely surrounded by the undead, is a chilling visual that perfectly establishes the scale of the threat and solidifies The Walking Dead's place in the survival horror genre. For Maze's Deadly Game. One More is an episode that takes a detour from the main group to focus on Gabriel and Aaron's desperate supply run, which quickly descends into a terrifying encounter. The episode's horror stems from their meeting with a man named Maze, whose unsettling behavior and twisted games build some immense tension. After stumbling upon his secluded home, Gabriel and Aaron find themselves trapped and forced into a deadly game of Russian roulette. What makes this scenario so chilling is the intimidating performance by Robert Patrick as Maze, famed for his epic portrayal as the Terminator in T2. He projects a cold, calculated madness that makes viewers truly believe neither hero is promised to leave the building alive. Maze's calm demeanor while forcing them into a life-or-death situation is deeply unnerving, showcasing a human predator who has embraced extreme cruelty in the apocalypse. Beyond Maze's terrifying presence, the episode includes several chilling surprises that keep viewers on edge. The discovery of Maze's past actions and the unsettling environment of his homestead contribute to a deep sense of dread. It's a prime example of how humans can be far more terrifying than the undead.
Well, you got a choice. Each time you can point it at yourself.
3. The Home Invasion. The episode Claimed builds a crazy, suffocating kind of terror as Rick finds himself in an incredibly vulnerable position. While Carl and Michonne are out searching for supplies, Rick is resting when he finds himself forced to hide under a bed as a violent gang, the Claimers, ransacks the house he's hiding out in. The scene brilliantly builds fear and tension by limiting the viewer's perspective to Rick's, forcing them to experience his helplessness as brutal, unpredictable men prowl mere inches away. Every creaking floorboard, muffled voice, and shadowed movement heightens the possibility of discovery, creating an almost unbearable atmosphere of suspense. The claustrophobic setting turns a seemingly ordinary domestic space into a deadly trap, with Rick compelled to remain perfectly still while disturbing glimpses of the intruder's violent and depraved nature are revealed. The constant threat of being found and the unknown consequences of his presence make this an agonizing sequence, providing super high levels of relief when he narrowly escapes alive. This scene showcases that letting your guard down for even a second can lead to your death. The prolonged tension and the threat of discovery are masterfully executed here, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats. The casual menace of the Claimers, coupled with Rick's extreme vulnerability in his state, makes Claimed a standout example of how the series can generate fear through human-on-human threats.
I bet now, jackoff.
2. 2. Claustrophobic cave traps. Squeeze is a masterclass in claustrophobic horror, trapping a group of survivors in an incredibly tight cave system filled with both walkers and whisperers. The episode immediately establishes an oppressive atmosphere as the characters are forced to navigate incredibly narrow passages, often barely able to squeeze through. This limitation builds a sense of vulnerability and fear, as escape routes are limited and visibility is minimal. Both types of enemies, walkers and whisperers, appear when the heroes least expect them, emerging from the darkness and tight crevices. To heighten the terror, the survivors have extremely limited light sources, which could fail at any moment, plunging them into complete, terrifying darkness. As they venture deeper into the cave, the passages become progressively tighter, making every step a struggle and every potential obstacle a life-threatening challenge. The episode only adds to the tension when multiple characters nearly die, and some eventually do, leaving viewers breathless with every stumble or new obstruction the survivors encounter. The literal and figurative darkness of Squeeze, combined with the confined setting and the constant threat from all directions, is what makes it such an unsettling experience that preys on primal fears of entrapment and the unknown. 1. The hunters become the hunted. On the Inside from the final season stands out as one of the most genuinely frightening and unsettling episodes in the entire series. The episode focuses on Connie and Virgil, who after a harrowing journey seek refuge in an abandoned house. However, their brief respite quickly turns into a nightmarish ordeal, as it becomes chillingly clear they are not alone. In a terrifying twist, it is revealed they have stumbled into a dwelling inhabited by feral, hungry humans. These beings behave more like savage animals than people, adding a primal, disturbing layer to the episode. What makes the horror build so much is its innovative use of sound design. To mirror Connie's experience as a deaf person, the show periodically reduces or completely drops the sound during her scenes, immersing the viewer in her heightened sense of vulnerability and isolation. This creative choice makes the situation 100 times more terrifying, emphasizing her inability to hear the approaching threats. The feral humans are depicted with disturbing primal natures, with their erratic movements and guttural sounds creating a constant sense of unease. The episode results in a desperate struggle for survival, where Connie is forced to strategically let walkers into the house to combat the feral humans, creating a chaotic and morally ambiguous battle. The sheer horrifying nature of these new human antagonists is so profound that viewers are genuinely torn on whether they prefer the undead or the living monsters to win. This unique blend of dread, sensory deprivation, and primal threats cements On the Inside as the most terrifying episode of The Walking Dead. These are our picks for the scariest moments in The Walking Dead. Do you agree with our picks? Are there others you think are even scarier? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more The Walking Dead content, click the video on screen now.